Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to another great episode of A Heart of a Champion series presented to you by the WPBA. Ladies and gentlemen, we take our Heart of a Champions and allow them to tell their story so they can help the next generation write their story. Ladies and gentlemen, I have another extraordinary guest that I love to introduce at this time. This young lady was born in California, so she's a native Californian by right, but she also considers herself a New Yorker. She's self-made. She's an HBCU alum coming from the Mecca. And she made her way down to Atlanta to start stardom and take her own journey on her back and start our own brand, our own company. And you just call it a diva, ladies and gentlemen. My guest on the Heart of a Champion series today is Miss Monique Nelms. Miss Nelms, good evening. How are you today?
Hi. How are you?
I'm wonderful. And yourself?
I'm doing well, thank you.
Absolutely, absolutely. So for you growing up, is New York City is pretty much home for you. So what was it like as a kid growing up in New York?
New York was so much fun. I feel like now, sometimes I miss it because I live in Atlanta, but New York was just fast paced and very independent, getting on trains, going to school, hanging out with your friends in the city. Some of the things now that I probably cringe if my daughter asked me to do, but I was probably doing them. But New York, it was wonderful. It was shops and just fun, good times. And that's probably kind of why I went down this path in the long run.
Got you.
So her being the baby, of course, she got away with a lot. Partly because of our mother, but I mean, being the baby at some point, it's just like, I got a big sister, I got big brothers. This is what it is. You know what I mean?
So doing some research about you, you grew up with humble beginnings with your mom and your older sister and your older brothers as well. Talk about y'all as a tight-knit family and just having to grow up, pretty much in one space. What was that like for y'all?
So we grew up on Terrace Avenue, which is in Hempstead, New York. What would be probably considered to some of the projects. What was it like? I don't think you quite realized then in the 80s that you were poor, and because all your friends were essentially poor too. Until like one of my girlfriends we went to school together, but she didn't live on Terrace where I lived.
Right.
And her mother would never let her come over to play with me. I could always go to her house, but she couldn't come to my house. And anytime she picked me up, they would wait outside. So I was like, I wonder, but if I'm poor. But family was always my big sister, who to this day, she's just an amazing big sister. My brothers were just regular brothers teasing me. I was the baby, calling me a brat. So I think we didn't have a realization that we had so little. And my mother worked very, very hard. And so that led to me too. She was always working, always taking on different jobs, kind of being alone a bit once my brothers and sisters left the house, and just being very independent. So that's what it was like growing up.
Absolutely. So you're a natural born scholar, Miss Nelms. You went to the Mecca, HBCU route at Howard University, HU in DC. Why Howard per se? And then also I want to know, what was it like and where were you at for that moment when you seen your fellow alum, Vice President Harris, take the oath? What was that like for you? How was that impactful for your life?
Okay, so Howard, growing up we moved from Hempstead to Queens. There wasn't a lot of opportunity. I didn't know anyone personally who went to college or who had any type of degree. Everybody was kind of just doing jobs,
Right.
But in high school, I ended up testing out of my zone high school, and I went to Forest Hills, which was like a magnet blue school of excellence or something at the time. So I had to take 2 buses and a train to get to school every morning. And it was a much more diverse crowd than if I would have went to Jamaica High School. I think that's where I was zoned for. And it was there that I met a young lady, we're still friends today, and she introduced me to the Boys and Girls Club. And at the Boys and Girls Club, I met counselors who had degrees, like bachelor degrees, who were working on their masters. And it was like, oh, this is a possibility for me. And with my grades at the time, it was like, my counselor or my mentor, Latasha at the time said, you could go to college. You could kind of go anywhere you want to go. I mean, probably not anywhere, but I was like, well, I'm going to go to college, because my high school environment was very mixed, but there was still not a lot of Black girls. It was probably like 8 of us. I wanted to be surrounded by my people. So I was like, I'm going to go to the best HBCU. So that's why I chose Howard University. And when I got in, I was elated. And seeing Kamala, it was just like, you just feel joy. Howard people are just super prideful anyway. We're super, we're very much like, we're the best. It's nobody better than us. And now we have like a vice president. It's like, come on, y'all ain't gonna be able to tell us nothing. So it was just overjoyed, and just being able to show my daughter, like, your mom went to the same school as Kamala. So that's what I'm standing on right now with her. But yeah, so it was just a good time.
So the family name for her is Nikki, even though her name is Monique. Where does that come from?
I want to say it comes from me, because that's what I always remember calling her. I remember her being a baby. And I remember my mom saying, first off, my mom's name for new babies was Nunu. So Nunu used to be the name. And I was like, I don't want that to be her name. I don't want that to be her name. I want to call her Nikki. And it stuck. And that's always been her name. And in fact, to hear like her college friends or her new, associates call her Mo. It's strange to me.
During this global pandemic, much can be said about essential workers, doctors, and nurses. Mm-hmm. And you went into the nursing profession yourself. Why did you select that field? And was there anything else that you possibly thought about doing as well with your career path?
So nursing. I selected nursing because, as we talked about, I came from humble beginnings, and I needed a career after college. So I wanted a career that I knew you always would need a nurse. So I just needed something. When I graduated, I was kind of like, I would be guaranteed to have a job and be able to provide for myself. And nursing it does provide you a pretty good lifestyle. If you're a single person, or even if you're not single and you're nursing, it's a pretty good salary. So that's what made me choose nursing. There was one point, I think it was maybe like sophomore year, I talked to the student affairs director, Dr. Nichols, who was another one of my mentors. And I was like, I think I'm going to switch to fashion merchandising. And she was like, nah, I think you should stick this nursing thing out. And I don't have any regrets, because like I said, it came full circle. I ended up in fashion anyway, but I think nursing is what I needed at the time. And it's always a great, fallback career stuff.
Right. So if there's anything else that you might have thought about growing up that you were interested in, that you might have potentially studied?
No, well, when I was much younger, I wanted to be a neurosurgeon, but that, I don't know, when that went out the window.
Yeah, that's very ambitious right there. Definitely.
Yeah.
So this past year, you had an incredible fight with breast cancer. And I know your sister talked about you being one of her personal heroes, and she trying to be there for you as much as possible. Talk about it. How'd you move through it as a family? How were you able to lean on each other through that difficult time?
I think growing up, we've always just been taught to always look out for each other. And I'm adjusting my volume, so I'm sorry. But I will say, just having her medical knowledge and her professionalism was very, it was touching for me. And I was comforted because I know I didn't have to worry about nothing.
So with everything, and like I said, doing research about everybody I like to speak to, you're a caregiver by nature, you're a nurturer by nature. Growing up, you had some things that were very devastating to your life, as well as more recently. So at an early age, you lost your mother. Talk about that and the impact on your life that's had. And more recently this year, during the pandemic, your sister, who kind of like was there as a secondary mother for you, went through a bout and a journey with cancer. Talk about where the family's at with that, and how she's persevering, and all those things that, kind of make you who you are as well.
Okay. I guess we'll start. I lost my mother. I had just graduated from Howard. It was probably the high time of my life. Every year around Mother's Day, it's hard because our graduation was Mother's Day weekend in 2006. And I remember my mom there, and she probably just cried like the whole day. She was so proud. I was the first person in my family to graduate from a 4-year college with a bachelor's degree. So she was just, over the moon.
Absolutely.
So it was just a high. It was just a wonderful, wonderful time. And a little under a month later, and something that was very bizarre, she had very bad asthma. She had an asthma attack, and she lost oxygen to the brain by the time everyone got there. And, you know, she was on life support for a while, and they were like, even if she comes back, she would never be the same. So we had to make some tough decisions, and right out of college, making the decision. And it was so weird because I had just studied nursing, and you study about all this, and now it's happening to you. Right. And sometimes people are looking at you to have answers, and I'm like, I haven't even practiced nursing yet. But I remember, like, you know, being in her hospital room and trying to do like the test that I saw in the book on her to see if she had brain activity, and just trying to ask the doctor informed questions, and really, you know, trying to stand up and be an advocate for my mother at the time, being so young, and just telling them that they needed to keep resuscitating her. And I think my sisters and brothers kind of saw that she was a very fair-skinned woman, lighter than myself, that she had burn marks from when they would keep resuscitating her. And it's just like, we're putting her through too much. And so, you know, we had to let her go. And it just wasn't what I anticipated happening. I had not passed boards for nursing yet. I had just moved to Georgia, bought a house, and it's like, and my mother died. So it was really tough. It's still really tough getting through that. But like I said, me and my sister and my brothers, we worked through it. And my stepdad was there, and we somehow got through it. And then recently this year with the pandemic, my sister was diagnosed with breast cancer, which is hereditary. My mother also had breast cancer a long time ago when I was like 9 years old. She beat it. My sister, if you knew her, she is a warrior. Like, she's a beast. That's always what I say. And just, I felt like I knew she was going to be okay. There was a time when she actually caught COVID after the surgery, and she was in the hospital. Wow. And that was the scariest part. But like a trooper, she just pulled through, and she's doing amazing. She's out and about. She's great. Just always, she reminds me so much of my mother. She always just has this light and this personality, and you just love her. And so she's good, and she will be good. That's just how it is.
That's good to hear. And I can tell by your smile, like, how much you think about her and how much joy she brings to your life.
Yes, I adore her.
That's super amazing. Listen, like the WPBA, community and helping and advocacy is major. And from you, I understand that you're a mentor, you're in a mentoring program, but not only that, you give to so many different people, whether it's breast cancer, during the pandemic, you were giving lunch and providing lunch for essential workers, and also doing just so many different things in the community. Where does that stem from? Why are you such a big advocate with that stuff? And also, you are the poster woman for supporting Black businesses. Everybody knows they can go to you to support Black businesses and get advice about, different Black businesses to shop with. Like, where does all that come from with you?
I think it's like my background in nursing. Just nurses in general, we just want to help people. You want to help people. You want to make people feel good. Even when I was a nurse, I remember I had a patient who she had been at the hospital for months, and she was like, I haven't been able to dye my hair. So I went to the store and I bought hair dye to bring it. Wow. It's just all about trying to make people feel as comfortable as possible, especially women, just trying to make us feel loved, and just knowing that we can all rely on each other, because I think sometimes there's the stigma that women can't get along. It's like, we can get along when we can uplift each other. So that's what it was. That's where I guess it stems from. And I just remember how many people helped me along my journey. When I lost my mother initially, the nurses at the hospital, they just took me under their wing, like the older nurses. And there was this saying that nurses eat their young, and it was nothing like that for me. They were so gracious to me. They came to my wedding to stand in my mother's place. They were just amazing. They threw me a baby shower when I got pregnant. They went above and beyond. So I just feel like I've been given so much, even though I lost so much. I've been given so much, and I just have to pay it forward. So that's where that comes from.
Definitely. I appreciate that from you. Let's take it here for a second. Everybody has that aha moment. Like, you could be going down a career path, and then you wake up one day and it's like, this ain't for me.
Yeah.
And then you have a revelation that opens up for different things, and you go to the left or go to the right. What was it like for you that day when you said, nursing isn't for me anymore, and there needs to be a shift in my life?
I don't know if there was one particular day. I think there was a collection of moments that started to happen where I just saw, I was a nursing supervisor with my last nursing job. So, people come to you for advice, come to you for just different things. And my head wasn't all the way in the game. And I do believe in, if you're going to do something, try to do it to the best of your ability. So I didn't want to be a lackluster resource. So I started to feel like I'm not really invested in this as much as I should be, to be here and be able to coach others or lead others. So I might need to take a step back. Mm-hmm. So I just gradually started stepping back from nursing and working what's called like PRN or part-time. So one day I was like, I can do this. Like, I have to make a decision. I was a night nurse. I would be nursing at night, running my business during the day. I was getting little sleep. I was a mother, a wife at the time, and it wasn't working. So what I did know is, I don't know if a Daily Diva will take off and succeed, but I do know I already earned this nursing degree, so no one can take it from me. So let's go out and try to live our dreams while we have the chance to.
Definitely. So this series is called The Heart of a Champion. Everybody knows when you're an athlete or you're a performer, there's always going to be a trial or tribulation, just some level of adversity. And they always say the entrepreneurship game is not for the faint of heart. You got to be tough. You got to be strong for it and everything that goes with that. What were two things that you learned as lessons early on that might have said, or you said to yourself, maybe this isn't for me, like things that you didn't know was going to happen as you try to start your business?
What has happened? I think I didn't realize initially that I'm a very giving person, that you have to be wary because people will just take. Mm-hmm. So because it's not my nature, so I had to kind of scale back and pay more attention to people and how I was promoting my business and who I was promoting my business through or with, or who I was using as quote unquote brand ambassadors. Mm-hmm. So I had to be mindful of that. And just more recently, last year, I went through a divorce. And I think we as women, we don't think when we're young and we're starting a business that you could go through a divorce and, someone can say they have rights to your business. So that was a learning lesson that I think I've learned. And I try to tell women, always protect yourself. And that's something I wouldn't do again.
Everybody gets that like aha moment, that miraculous feeling, like, my business is making it. I'm happy. I'm working. Not saying no names, but you're super amazing, knowing your story and working with so many different people.
Thank you.
When was there that one call of a person that might have just said to you, like, listen, I need you. I need your business. I need your brand. And that made you feel real good. Like I said, you don't gotta say no names because I know you work with the best of the best and some A-list celebrities, but can you remember what that was like for you and when it happened, and talk a little bit about that? And if you want to share a story about somebody, we'll take the tea on that too.
Look, I won't call anybody's names, but I had started like selling things in different like R&B group, A-listers would like reach out or buy something. I was like, I have something going on. But really, I think it was last year that really was the aha moment. And it wasn't any A-lister. It wasn't anyone like that. It was all women who were just working women like me who just showed up and supported me and have continued to support me. That's like, that was my aha moment. Like, these are my people and I'm their person and like, I could do this. So that's what it really is. It really is just the everyday woman who is just trying to find something nice for herself and in the same turn, just support someone else that they believe in.
Amazing. She's became this brand, this incredible
a Daily Diva.
That is correct. So what's that like for you, watching your big sister now being this big person? What's it like for you?
I love it. From the time she was a little girl, she always said, I don't want to, I don't have to learn how to cook because I'm just going to pay somebody to do it for me. I used to like, little girl, you need to get in this kitchen and learn how to cook. Or she just always had these dreams of just doing things in retail. And she's always been into fashion. And I mean, she gets it honest because our mom was very high maintenance.
Got you.
She loved to dress. She loved to shop. So I'm not surprised that it's something she loves to do. And I'm definitely impressed that it has grown to where it is now. I can remember it being her baby. I can remember her talking about it, oh, you think you put this magnet on your car? Sure, you know.
Yeah.
And like millennials, which she is on the, I guess on the, the early side of the millennials.
Yeah.
She's not Generation X, she's not Z.
Got it.
But I think when it comes to like Instagram and social media, I think she hit it right on the target. She got into it. She knew what she wanted to do. She established it. And I think for one, her clientele, for one, you got to be open to everything. You got to be open to celebrities. You got to be open to lower end. You got to want to be able to accommodate.
Right.
And I think she does all of that.
Wonderful.
And in addition, she throws her professionalism in there and her smile and her bubbly personality. I don't think it's hard. You know what I mean? I don't think everybody can do it, but I definitely don't think it's hard for her.
And with that, you mentioned a good point. Like last year was your aha moment, but coincidentally, it was a global pandemic going on, and we've seen a lot of businesses, especially entrepreneurs, the mom and pops that just didn't have the fortitude, didn't have the financial resources, just could not withstand the lack of customers, the lack of consumers, just the lack of generating profit and revenue. What was that like for you, and how did you withstand the pandemic, and how are you still withstanding the pandemic?
Oh, okay. I'm sorry. I thought I lost you for a second. So the pandemic, when it first happened, there were a lot of changes that had to be made because everyone, of course, had to be working from home. I had to leave my office. I think it was hard, but I was already in another fight. So the pandemic was happening behind like this ugly divorce, if I can just be candid. So I was so focused on fighting for my freedom and my independence and also my rights to Daily Diva that I think I was going hard, from home, and people were noticing that. And because people could not go out and shop, they were shopping at home and paying more attention to small businesses like myself who still offered a service. So it was a great thing in that way for me. And yeah, so the pandemic, and I think it also taught me how, to focus. A lot of us had to, okay, if I'm gonna do this, let me do this to the best of my ability. And initially when things kind of slowed down at first and got hard, I just did what I knew best, right? I always seemed to have like a fashion sense. So I was like selling clothes that I couldn't wear anymore, just different things. And it was actually making money. I guess, like I said, people were sitting home on their phones shopping. So it went okay. It was a sad and terrible time, but there was so much going on in my life that I knew I had to persevere, and I knew I needed a Daily Diva to do what it did.
Man, some people got fashion sense, some people don't. Man, shopping is one of those things where like people love to shop, people sometimes dread to shop, but there's a story within a story. So talk about the name A Daily Diva. What does that mean?
So I think what it means is I've always been a diva, right? Like quote unquote, but I've always this takes us back to New York City. I love to shop, but I love to find like a bargain or a great deal. I used to go in the Macy's on 34th Street when it was light out, and I would be in there until it was dark out. But I would just love finding like a great deal. And it's just always what I've been good at. And I think I've always been very transparent with what like I wear and telling people, oh, this is where you can get it. And this is where they have it. So it just kind of came naturally. And I don't pretend to be like a stylist, like I can style other people. I just make what I have look good and work for me. Yes. And I guess that maybe transcends to the audience.
Being an entrepreneur, like I said earlier, is not for the faint of heart, but you got just so much going on. What's it like? And maybe you can share some advice to, some of the viewers about being a successful entrepreneur, having a great brand, trying to grow your brand, still trying to fight through this global pandemic, being a single mom and just finding time for yourself. So what advice do you have? How would you offer that up?
You know, I pray. Look,
Got you.
yes, I think more during the global pandemic, I learned to take time for myself, to rest when I needed to rest, to not feel like I had to be on 24/7. Like you just have to keep going until you're physically exhausted. I felt like I learned to rest, write out what you need to do, get focused on what you need to do, and stop being distracted. And also carve out time for your children, your family, and the things that are important to you and why essentially you want to work so hard. I want to run a Daily Diva and I want it to be prosperous because I want to leave that for my daughter, and maybe not the business, but the profits or, you know, the aftermath of what a Daily Diva creates. I want her to be able to inherit that. So don't forget about why we're doing this when you're doing it. So that's one thing I will tell entrepreneurs, and just to stick at it. It's going to be time when it gets hard, but just stay grounded if you need to refocus. And then a lot of it also is hiring people to do the things that you're not that great at. I am a nursing major. I have a nursing degree. I am not in finance, business, and I had to come to the realization you're making money, but where's the money going? Who's accounting for these transactions? And I had to get someone, Sonia from the Creators Architect, to help me just kind of say, this is the big picture. This is what your profit margin needs to be. These are your numbers, just different things that, you know, I may not have thought of.
Listen, madam, you've been amazing. But before you go, I got two more quick questions for you.
Okay.
WPBA, just like any other brand, has been really, really big advocating what's been going on in our world. No matter if we're watching the news, we're not watching the news, whether we're looking on our phones, we've just seen so many different things in terms of race and social unrest and social injustice. As a single mom, a woman of color, what was your take on all that you've seen? How are you affected by it? And what have you talked to about, you know, peers, fellow colleagues, as single mothers, telling your daughters, also as women of color who are business owners? Like, how do y'all move around in a space like this right now?
I think what my reaction is, and I'm just a very sensitive person, it's been heartbreak. Just literally some nights just crying to sleep because you can't, or you feel like you can't just change it. And I feel empathy and sadness for the families of all those victims. So I think that was like my initial response, heartbreak. But then on the back end, I think supporting other women who look like me, who trying to make a difference in the world. Sometimes all of us may not have the words to that we feel to articulate, but we can still support those who are in that position. And who are doing things for our community. So I think that was one of the things that I was doing. And I think having difficult conversations with friends, holding people accountable for their words, making some changes, who, like big corporations who you're supporting, really trying to figure out the facts, who they support behind the scenes, and make sure you're not funneling your money into essentially what is supporting systemic racism.
Right.
And just trying to really support other businesses who look like me and who are ran by people like me. So I think that was how it affected me, what I was trying to do on the back end, and just also having conversations, because I have a young daughter, that were difficult but necessary.
Final question is, if I could tell you this phrase, I want you to give me the best definition in your heart and mind of what it means. A heart of a champion.
I think someone who knows the road is going to be rough, who knows that there are going to be so many obstacles, but they just press on, they keep going. Just a good person, a person who is for the people, a person who people believe in also, and just, yeah, I guess overall a person who's just gonna keep persisting, just keep at it, no matter how hard it gets.
Absolutely, absolutely. Well, listen, Miss Monique Nelms, it's been a pleasure to have you on the Heart of a Champion series, because you are truly a heart of a champion. But since you are a great brand and a great business, and you want to reach out to so many different women and vice versa, how can women, either shop with you, connect with you, look out for you? Just give them some of your contact information that you feel comfortable with sharing with us today.
Okay, so my name is Monique Nelms. I run a luxury designer finds company by the name of A Daily Diva. You can find us on Instagram at A Daily Diva, or you can go to the website adailydiva.com.
Wonderful, wonderful. Well, Ms. Nelms, listen, for all that you do, continue to do, for everything that you give back to, and you give your contributions is much needed, and we really, really appreciate you, and you truly are a champion. We wish you all the best with A Daily Diva moving forward, and thank you so much for being on the show today.